You know, I got some infirmities. Nothing as glamorous as a war wound, but it's from a misspent youth, and I'm trying to make up for it. I am thrilled to be here, and I want to recognize other elected officials that are here. The lights, I see Don Guardian, Claire Swift, John Risley, June Jones. And if I missed you, please stand up. I want you to be recognized because we have hundreds of elected officials. Y'all were the ones that took the time to come and to honor our veterans. Thank you very much. As many of you may know, I'm a former history teacher. And you know, I should have started this by saying, welcome home. What a belated time for us to say it year after year. And I want you to know why we have the wall and we have the statue to the Vietnam vets. It's our way to say, we're sorry. We're sorry the way you were treated. And it's almost unbelievable how stupid we were to blame the warrior. You did nothing wrong except answer the call or volunteer. And look what we did to you. You did nothing wrong. You had people in Washington that didn't want to win a war. And if you ever read the Fog of War, they not only didn't want to win it, they knew they couldn't win it. But they still continued to send the best and the brightest of our society over as cannon fodder. Robert McNamara, who was the Defense Secretary with no experience, who worked for Ford Corporation, decided that you won if you had body counts. Well, it was a disgraceful period in our history, and it wasn't your fault. And I know the trauma that many of you have experienced and continue to do so. Something to remember about the war. We never lost a battle. If you never lost a battle, how do you lose a war? Well, it was lost in Washington, and I think everybody understands that now. On that wall are 47 Atlanta County young men that gave their all. There's one from New York named Jay Levinson. There's also one there from Puerto Republic named Charles Kurtz. Charlie Kurtz was engaged to my wife. Now, I don't know if they would have gotten married, whether it would have lasted, I don't know. But he never had the opportunity to even try. And presently, I live for the last 47 years with the finest woman I've ever met. He was deprived of that. And my wife still remembers the most traumatic time of her life when she saw two Marines coming up her walk. She knew then, and it is embedded into her mind what occurred. And, you know, I'm not saying what could have been, what should have been. It wasn't. But it's just something that we all ought to think about, the sacrifices that were made. When I became county executive, my cousin Gary Levinson from Pennsylvania, was the director of veteran services for the whole state. So we were talking, and I said, wow, it's quite a job. He said, you don't know what this job is like. Filling out forms, seeing if people are eligible for this and that. It's the whole state of Pennsylvania. I said, why don't you get some help? And he said, I have a whole staff, but anybody that wants this has to come to Harrisburg. He said, what I need are county representatives, directors. Do you have one? And I said, I don't think so. Well, nobody was more dedicated to the veterans than my predecessor, Dick Squires. Started the cemetery, which is now named in his honor. But I said to my cousin, I said, if we don't, I didn't know. And I should have, but we're going to have one. And he said, I just want to tell you, when you get one, make sure he's been in combat. And I said, why? He said, I can never explain it to you. If you weren't in combat, you will never, ever understand what it's like. And you need somebody that has experienced this. Frog, move yourself out. Move yourself out. Or push them out. I want them in the middle here so they see you. Face the audience, please. He's been the director of veteran services as long as I've been county executive. And a quick story. The week we knew he was gone, we hung around, and that week before he left for Vietnam, I picked him up every day, and we went out all night, a whole bunch of us. Should I tell the rest of it? Huh? No.
Face yours, right, Crollo?
After a week of partying, we couldn't drive. We put him on a bus. Tell him what you had on, Frog.
Uh-oh.
Nothing.
I had pants with no pockets. That's what friends are for.
Sure is. He's a decorated combat veteran, and I want him to be remembered. As you all know, we have a Veterans Museum, first in the state. Memorabilia from those that served here in the county that donated them. Next time you go there, you're going to see a plaque. Robert Frog Furlow, Veterans Museum. There is nobody more deserving or as dead. By the way, he was doing these things before he was hired to do them, dedicating his life to the men and women that he served with and to honor the memory of those that passed away. I want to leave you with this on a higher note. You all remember the show Taxi that took place in the garage? Well, there was a whacked out individual there. His name was Jim Ignatowski. Do you remember him? He was strung out from smoking pot, dropping acid, partying all the time. And they got into a discussion on Vietnam. And the character that Tony Danza played was a Vietnam vet. And Tony turned to Ignatowski and said, you know, while you were partying, getting drunk and getting high every night, I was in the jungles of Vietnam getting shot at. What do you have to say about that? Ignatowski looked at him and said, thank you very much. And thank you all very much. We should never forget.